Hi guys, welcome to Big Life. I'm Little J. Thanks a bunch to Robert Madsen for suggesting a follow-up to the most popular video across all of my channels. I didn't know that smart alternators were as big a problem as they really are. That video's got more views than all of my videos on all of my channels combined. Now, granted, I'm a pretty small creator, but that's impressive, and I really appreciate everybody who has watched and taken the time to comment or leave a like. So the suggestion that Robert made was that I do a follow-up showing the VVCS reconnected and show that my voltage is lower. So let's take a look at what I've got going on here right now. I've got, looks like 12.24. It was at 12.3 a few minutes ago. And this is fresh off the charger. So let's crank it up and see what the alternator voltage looks like with the VVCS disabled. Okay, idling 14.3 volts, 14 and some change. And that's with the VVCS disabled. Okay, now the VVCS signal wire is reconnected, and the computer is going to send a signal to the alternator after a few minutes of running saying there's no load on this car, lower your output. And here we are after about a minute of idling. We're at just over 14 volts and dropping. It's going to take the computer a minute to decide that the alternator doesn't need to be putting out full voltage. Even cars with small alternators do start at full voltage when they are first cranked up. So while we wait for the VVCS, the IPDM, and the alternator to talk to each other, let's do a quick refresher on how it works from the factory. What it does is it starts at full output from the alternator for a minute or two, and then it adjusts to a duty cycle based on electrical load using the sensor on the negative battery cable. So if, for example, if it worked like intended, if the headlights were on, air conditioner was on, something like that, it would detect the extra load and increase the output from the alternator. Right now I have nothing turned on. The air conditioner is turned off, all the lights are off, everything is off on the car. So after a few minutes, now that the VVCS is reconnected, we should see the voltage drop down to an unacceptably low level. At least unacceptably low for an AGM battery, although a little bit of searching will demonstrate that this causes problems even with conventional flooded batteries. But the idea, at least behind my video, was that AGM batteries need a higher charging voltage, and the VVCS smart alternator hurts AGM batteries. It killed a couple of mine. So here we are after a few minutes of running, probably 10 or 15 minutes idling, and it has dropped down to a little over 13.8 volts and stayed there. I was actually getting lower voltages than this before I disabled the VVCS, and now that it's on VVCS, it has lowered the voltage, just not as much as I was seeing before. I can't see what the computer sees. I think the computer is seeing some kind of load through the sensor on the negative cable, and that's why it's giving it extra voltage. But not giving it enough. It should still be north of 14 volts. So this is an acceptable charging voltage, but not a good one. For whatever reason, the computer, I don't know what the computer says because I don't have fancy enough tools, but the computer is seeing something, and it is raising the charging voltage to 13.8, but it has definitely dropped more than half a volt from where it was when we first started it. So there you have it. We have a smart alternator being smart, just not smart enough. Because there have been times when the voltage that we saw right here is not what I was getting, and it was hurting batteries. I say I had to replace expensive AGM batteries a couple of times. So I hope you find this an acceptable follow-up. It wasn't the dramatic demonstration that I was hoping for, but it does demonstrate that the smart alternator is dropping voltage again now that I've reconnected it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can see my other antics and stuff that I get into. Solving problems, building cool stuff, working on fun things. Until next time, life is a gift, so make it big.